Hey, what's up? My name's Justin with 65 Drums. Today I want to talk about how Alesis could absolutely dominate the entire electronic drum industry from all price points with a few different strategy changes. Now, I've already done a bunch of other videos in the series. If you want to go check those out, I've already made one on Roland, Yamaha, and Pearl. So go check out how those companies could also take over. So Alesis is actually a very different company from all those right there. They are in a very unique position because really the fact is they already own half of the electronic drum industry. They just need to work on the other half. Anything like $1,000 and below, they sell a ton of different drum sets. Like there's so many Alesis Nitro drum sets out there. There's so many Alesis Forge drum sets, so many Alesis Command drum sets, and even like the Alesis Crimson line has been selling very well as well. You can see this. All you got to do is log into any music website and then sort electronic drum sets from most popular to least popular. And bam, Alesis drum sets are always right up there on the very top of the list with a couple of different Roland drum sets. So Alesis is doing something right on the low end, and the fact is they're making a lot of large electronic drum sets for less than $1,000, and that's really all anyone wants in that price category. And especially like the Alesis Surge that they just came out with for $500. It's got all mesh pads. That's awesome. So the fact of the matter is they don't really have a problem with their, cheaper drum sets. They already sell a ton of units. A lot of people love the fact that they're getting really large electronic drum sets. The downside is the Alesis drum sets in that price range aren't as durable as they should be, so they need to work on that. But overall, they've already dominated the cheaper low-end electronic drum sets. What Alesis does need to focus on is making sure that they're making amazing high-end electronic drum sets and like the really good $2,000 electronic drum sets. Now, I know what some people are saying. Justin, they've already done that. They already came out with the Alesis Strike and the Alesis Strike Pro. But those drum sets obviously have a lot of problems. So I just have a couple of ideas, and I'm not trying to say that I know everything about making electronic drums and designing and all the processes that go behind that. Just some ideas I have that maybe Alesis will implement one day. So number one, Alesis needs to redesign their entire trigger system inside of their drums. This is a very, very simple one because Alesis has this overly complex triggering system. I don't know if you've ever looked inside of a drum pad from them before, but they have all these trigger cones, or they're not even cones actually, they're foam rods. And these foam rods have a tendency to fall over, okay? So they need to nix all that. All they need is one trigger cone. That's literally all they need. It would probably be even cheaper to go with one trigger cone instead of like half a dozen foam rods. And also they have all these foam rods sitting on a trigger plate. And these plates have the tendency to bend and then snap in half. This isn't like an uncommon thing either. I've seen this a lot, and people have actually sent me photos of their cracked Alesis snares and stuff. So it is a problem. So they just need to nix all of that. It's like an overly complicated design for something that really gives them poor results. So they just need to switch over to, the system that everybody uses. The same system that Roland, that the new DW drum set has, that DDT uses, that Joe Becky uses. Like everybody uses the standard middle trigger setup, and they should go with the foam cone because that gives them superior triggering results versus foam rods. So that's one really simple thing that Alesis could do that would really win over a ton of people. And also it would be great if this trigger had multiple arms to every single lug and not just one trigger bar, because you'll get superior triggering results with multiple trigger arms as well. A second thing that Alesis could do that would really help out all of their drum sets at all the different price points is giving every drum set they make a 3-ply set of mesh heads. Now you might be wondering why 3-ply mesh heads are even a big deal. What are the benefits of a 3-ply mesh head? Well, number one, it's kind of hard to see through a 3-ply mesh head because you have 3 layers of material, so it has a clean look to it. The second thing that's great about them is depending on the type of mesh that you choose, they can be less bouncy, so they feel more like an acoustic drum head. They're just more high-end, they're more professional, it's a newer development, and they trigger great. So if they went to 3-ply mesh heads on every kit that they make, that would get a lot of heads turning. It would be great PR for the brand. One thing that I've noticed about the lower-end Alesis drum sets is that the mesh that they've chosen isn't the nicest kind, so it doesn't feel quite as high-end and professional, and just switching out the kind of mesh that you're using on your drum sets can drastically change the experience of playing on it in the first place. So it's a really simple, low-cost thing that could improve the whole playing experience of all their drum sets all at once. The really cool thing about this kind of mesh head is that it doesn't really take that much R&D. It's not that hard to accomplish. You're not toiling away making a new drum module with great sounds. You're not working really hard on designing a new kind of cymbal. It's just a different kind of mesh head that makes your drum set feel nicer. It's a cool thing to show off at the next NAMM event. So it's really a no-brainer in my opinion. Another thing that would really position Alesis stronger in the market is having cymbals that feel a little bit better. And the way to accomplish this is having thicker rubber on the cymbals in the first place and making sure that rubber is a high quality. But I would say this is more important on their lower end drum sets because the cymbals on the Alesis Strike, they feel fine to play on. They just needed a little bit of extra fine tuning. On their lower end drum sets, for example, the Alesis Nitro or the Alesis Surge or the Alesis Command, those cymbals are like this thin and most of it's plastic. There's a really, really thin coating of rubber on it, but you're basically playing on plastic with hardly any rubber covering it. So yeah, the cymbals need an upgrade. That's one thing that would really help them position their brand to be stronger. Also, I think it would be really good if Alesis would update their drum module on the DM10 MK2 Pro. Now I realize that drum module is still practically brand new, but it's not really an upgrade over the original DM10 drum module. I don't see any upgrade really at all. I know you can import samples, but overall the drum module isn't really better than the original DM10. So I'm not sure why they're selling it like that. What they really need to do is make a lower cost version of the Alesis Strike drum module. Because that drum module, I know I complain about the Alesis Strike pads and stuff, but the drum module is actually really darn good, just with, long load times. What if they took that drum module, put less sounds in it, maybe a few less inputs, maybe give it a cable snake if you have to, just make a lower cost version of the Alesis Strike drum module, and then put that on the DM10 line. So that would be a great, compromise. So you have a better drum module than right now, but people still want to buy the Alesis Strike drum module because it is better than the one on the DM10. See what I mean? So another potential upgrade that Alesis could do to strengthen their entire drum lineup is just upgrade all their kick drum pads. This is pretty simple, but would really be effective. So let's take a look at their best kick drum pad that they have, the one on the Alesis Strike and Strike Pro. So that kick drum pad actually looks pretty darn amazing. It looks very, very similar to the one on the TD50KV as far as like shell size and the overall design and everything. But the fact is, the TD50KV one, it feels like a boulder. The Alesis Strike one, I realize it's not anywhere near the same price category. I understand that. But it does feel a little bit too light. It's just a large empty box basically. So they should probably like put some weight in it, or I don't know what they need to do, but they need to make it feel a little bit more heavy. And as far as the other pads on their whole lineup, it's the same pads they've been using for a very, very long time. I believe they're made by Middelli because I think you can see the same kick drum pad on the Millennium drum sets and stuff like that. So they just need to upgrade all the kick drum pads to feel a little bit better and, work better with double kick drum pedals on the lower end. So next up, the thing that everyone's been thinking about, and this is not a unique idea, but basically Alesis needs to design a brand new hi-hat from the ground up. Competition is rising. There's more and more companies starting to make two-piece electronic hi-hats, and Alesis undoubtedly has the worst two-piece electronic hi-hat in the entire industry. There has been so much hubbub about people trying to dial in their hi-hats. A bunch of people that own the Alesis Strike drum sets, they have dialed them in. Other people are still struggling. So yeah, the Alesis Strike hi-hats, I think we can all agree they do need a lot of help. So they just need to, redesign them from the ground up. Now, the one thing that I've been thinking about is that the Alesis Strike has so much potential. It's a drum set that could have been amazing and it could have changed the entire electronic drum landscape. And it came this close. And you gotta know that Alesis has to be working on a successor eventually. It probably won't come out this year. It probably won't come out next year, but eventually it will come out. We just don't know what it will be called. Maybe it will be called the Alesis Strike 2. Maybe it will be called the Alesis Strikes Back. I don't know what it's called. But eventually it will come out, and if they successfully address all the bugs and problems people have with the original Alesis Strike, the new version could take over the $2,000 price point, really revolutionize the electronic drum market. Because we need a great, low-cost, like $2,000 option, and right now it's the TD25KV and the Alesis Strike. And so I'm still recommending the TD25, not because I want everyone to go buy it, just because it's more reliable than the Alesis Strike. Make sure that the reliability goes up and you have faster load times. That's all anyone really wants. One more thing Alesis could do is come out with a Sample Pad Pro MK2. Now this one, it does have some pretty core problems. There's some crosstalk issues. The load times are a little bit too slow in my opinion. If they really want to go head-to-head with the Multipad 12 from Yamaha, and if they really want to go head-to-head with the Roland SPD SX, except at a lower price point, if they made a Model 2 of this that just had some improvements and less crosstalk, better load times, common things like that, this could really help them out as far as hybrid drumming goes as well. So I'd say that Alesis is actually pretty well positioned. Their whole branding right now is that they are a lower cost option to the really expensive guys. So they're a lower cost version of Yamaha, of Roland, of ATV, of all those companies, but they're still trying to give you really large electronic drum sets at the same time. As far as electronic drum releases, this year is getting pretty darn crowded. We got a new Pearl drum set coming out eventually. We've got DW and Geva teaming up for a really high-end electronic drum set. There's rumors that Yamaha will eventually be coming out with stuff. We know that there are other companies probably working on stuff. We don't know yet. So there's a lot of things happening. And Alesis is still owning the lower end market, but they could be owning the $2,000, $3,000 market if they upgrade, the problems that have happened with the Alesis strike. But this right here probably sums up my entire video. If I worked at Alesis and they pulled me aside and said,
"We need you to choose the direction of the entire company for the next 5 years."
They would never do that. But if they said that to me, I would probably say the next thing to focus on for the next couple of years is just making Alesis a rock solid, reliable brand that gets a reputation for doing that. It takes a long time to develop the reputation of being durable because you can't just become a durable brand in 1 year, obviously. You need to prove that over, a period of 5 and 10 years, which some brands have done. We want to make sure Alesis becomes a brand where I can buy the drum set and play it for 20 years and then sell it on eBay. If Alesis can eventually get to that status, basically becoming the Toyota or Honda of electronic drums, really low-cost versions of the higher-end stuff that doesn't break. If they could become that and be known as this really rock-solid, reliable brand, then that would be amazing. So I hope Alesis achieves that one day. And yeah, those are just some really simple ideas that Alesis could use to dominate the entire electronic drum industry. Again, these are just opinions. If you guys have different ideas, let me know down in the comments below. I really want to read your thoughts on this whole topic. Hope you guys have an amazing day, and I'll see you in a few.